From the staff of Fitchburg Access Television, welcome to another episode of North Central Journal, featuring the cities and towns, the people, and the events here in North Central Massachusetts. Hello and welcome again to North Central Journal. I'm Scott May, and boy, we're fortunate and lucky to have North Central Journal Deja Vu as we sit with Oakmont Regional High School head coach Tim Caouette and Caleb Allen, a pitcher for the team who is this year's winning pitcher for the state championship Oakmont Regional High School baseball team, second year running, hence the deja vu. I thought that was pretty clever, but nobody's laughing. Coach, what goes around comes around. How does it feel this second year in a row? It must be just kind of hard to believe, I would think.
It is. It is. We talked after, we won it last year. We knew we had a lot of guys returning, that it was possible. But, winning is hard. Winning is hard at any level, and winning at that level is extremely hard. So we knew we needed to have, some good fortune. We needed to have some guys, step up and fill different roles. And, we were fortunate enough that everything played out kind of dreamlike, just like we hoped it would, and it played out that way.
Now, Caleb, you were the winning pitcher, went the distance. Final out was a strikeout. How did you feel when that happened? What happened inside of you when that happened?
It was definitely a great feeling. I said to Sam and Ben on the bus, I said I wanted a strikeout to end it. Because, there's nothing better as a pitcher than ending a game with a strikeout. I always love doing that. So. Yeah, it was fun.
Now, the season began, and I'm going to go down the list, just a short list here. You beat Leominster, game number 1 at Leominster. Very good team, 4-3. Second game, you played at Marshall Park in Lunenburg, beat Lunenburg 9-3. But in that game, Caleb was hurt, with sprained ankle.
Sprained ankle, yeah.
And then your second baseman, Sam Curtis, little hamstring problem. 2 starters, both seniors, both leaders on the team. Game number 2, and you got some injury problems. You go to game number 3 against Clinton, another good team, away. You win that 4-3. And then in game 4, your starting catcher tweaks a hamstring, correct?
Yep.
So you've got the injury bug in 4 games. You're down 3 starters, or at least a couple of them hobbling. And Sam, how long were you out after the sprained ankle?
I was out for 9 games.
9 games, yeah. So were you looking at and thinking, how are we going to do this, Tim?
Yeah, we knew Caleb was going to be out. We didn't know how long because it was a very, very severely sprained ankle. He was doing everything he could to get back, but you can't rush those. It's just time is the only healer. But we've been real fortunate the last, several years to just have guys who compete, who are willing to take on whatever role is necessary in order for us to succeed. And nothing changed. It was kind of the next man up mentality. And even the guys who were, the other guys who could play and who could kind of, didn't have to deal with something as, strenuous or as serious as Caleb's ankle injury, but pulled muscles. We were cautious with them playing it on the bases. We knew when they got on, we couldn't steal as much. We couldn't do some things that we like to do that have helped kind of make us successful. But we just had guys step up. We had, sophomore Aiden Haley, who filled in admirably for Caleb in the infield when he was out. J.J. Walker took a huge step forward this year for us. And wound up playing shortstop almost the whole season, especially when he was pitching. But J.J. was our starting shortstop when Caleb threw, and he really anchored down the left side of the infield while Caleb was out. He had a tremendous game and tremendous postseason for us. Will Gage, when Johnny, came down with his hamstring leg injury, took over the catching responsibilities and was really, really good at it and worked really hard to become, a very, very good high school catcher, which then freed us up when Johnny got healthy to move him to the outfield and just kind of let him relax and kind of run around and focus on offense and, hit like he did, and he was tremendous offensively for us. So it fed into the whole mentality that we've really been preaching, for the time that I've been Oakmont is, the end goal is to win games. And however that happens, if it's ugly, if it's pretty, if it's whoever the hero is of that day, everyone's on the same page, and it's next man up.
So you're looking at a few of your players hobbled. Caleb out for a while. You start the season 10-0. In spite of all of that.
Yeah.
At that point in time, did you think maybe we got a shot at something here?
It's funny. I can relay a conversation Caleb and I had, and it was actually the day Caleb was on the bench, and it was Will who took over the catching responsibilities for Johnny. Will had caught maybe 2 or 3 games in the JVs last year, and it wasn't really his favorite position. And we looked around at practice one day. And at this point, Caleb is kind of our, one of our de facto assistant coaches because he's, in a boot and he can't really do much else. So he's listening to Coach Nesty and Coach Pacusi and I and Coach Stiles talk. And we saw Will catch about 10 pitches in the bullpen. And at that point, we had nobody else on the roster who had caught in any games above the JV level. So we said, you know what, Will's catching tomorrow. He's going to start. We'll just tell him today he caught 10 pitches in the bullpen. You're going to start tomorrow. So he did. And then the next game, he did very well. He looked very good. He was raw, but he definitely had the fundamentals down, and he looked very solid, and he looked like he was throwing well, and he looked pretty comfortable back there. And we won the next game that he caught, and Caleb and I looked at each other and we were like, that might be the piece we were missing. Because we knew we had to replace Colby Goldrup, who was, as far as I'm concerned, the best high school catcher I've seen, in at least the last 15 years. So we knew he had big shoes to fill. And so when Will looked so good that first game, I remember distinctly Caleb and I having a conversation on the bench after the game and being like, that might have been the piece we were missing right now to really move us to the next level and to get us maybe back to where we were last year.
Caleb, you were able to observe the team for a period of games while you were recovering. What were your impressions of the team as you watched from the sidelines?
We went 9-0 while I was gone, and I feel like after the third,
So you really weren't needed after.
Well, I guess not. But after the third win, I knew we had a very good chance to win it again.
Next question. I'll go back to you, Caleb, but it's for both of you. What would you say about the character of your team?
Every guy isn't every player is not selfish. Everybody's for the team. Everybody picks each other up, and it was the same thing last year. And I think that's a great reason why we always win and stuff. It's just every person doesn't focus on themselves, and it's a great thing to see. It's great team to be a part of too. Makes it a lot closer.
Now, Coach, how about you?
He said it, the selflessness. Every guy in the lineup is willing to bunt. Every guy in the lineup is willing to move guys over and be productive. Every guy is willing to give up their body and sacrifice to keep balls in the infield, to lay out in the outfield. And they do it in practice. They do the little things. They find ways to get better. So it's been such a blessing to coach these kids and to coach, in this community that really does breed that selfless attitude, and that just everybody's on the same page, and we all had one goal, and we were fortunate enough to achieve the ultimate goal now twice in a row. Which is, I laugh. It's stuff that my dad and I would joke about. We never even got this far in our dreams, and now we got to experience it 2 times in a row.
7 players completed their careers at Polar Park this year with a state championship. What can you say about that group of 7?
And again, it's eerie to say it, but going back to winning it in 2023 and seeing our seniors last year celebrate and have their last high school game at Polar Park and to raise a trophy as the state champions and to get to that same place again and have a different group to get to have their final game and their final high school moments at Polar Park and to win another state championship. It's the stuff of storybooks. It's and he said, before he mentioned he even got to strike out the last guy. It was just eerie how everything just seemed kind of written before it happened. It was just, we could see it playing out. We found the pieces we needed to find. We had the guys step up when they needed to step up, take the roles they needed to take. And it really, we didn't think it could end any other way. We kind of, we wanted it to happen this way. We hoped we would be in a position for it to happen this way, and fortunately it did.
Caleb went the distance for the championship game, struck out 10, 3-hitter. Talk about Caleb and his career as a starting pitcher at Oakmont?
In my opinion, Caleb had potentially the best high school career out of at least any pitcher I've seen in Massachusetts, going back and now decades. I can't imagine you could find a more decorated, a more celebrated, and a more successful pitcher than Caleb Allen. I mean, he's won 2 state titles. He finished as the career strikeout leader in the history of Oakmont Regional. He finished his career with 317 career strikeouts, which I don't know where that fits into the grand scheme of, records set in Massachusetts baseball history, but it's got to be in the conversation, because we celebrate, and rightfully so, we celebrate high school pitchers when they strike out 150 or 200 guys in a career, which is phenomenal, especially with the new pitch count regulations and rules that we have in place. So to have somebody go over that threshold by over 100, and finish his career the way that he did, is just, it was an honor to coach him. He's a phenomenal baseball player. He's a better person, and we're really excited to see where his career takes him.
As a player and a hitter at Oakmont myself, I had over 200 career strikeouts, so I'm close. Your second baseman, Sam Curtis, also a senior. He finished his career with 3 hits in the championship game and RBI runs scored. But he also has a record, a career record that surpassed another player that we all know. It's Tim Caouette's record of hits in a career. And let's talk about Sam Curtis and that record that he set.
So Sam has just been the model of consistency, for his 4 years for us. He started at second base, or he started every game in his career possible since he set foot on, Driscoll Park his freshman year, except for one game. He was sick. He had the flu. I think it was actually it might have been Fitchburg. So his either sophomore or junior year, he missed one game because he was sick. And so these guys have started every game possible for me in the past 4 years for us, barring injury, or sickness. So Sam, again, just the model of consistency. His freshman year, I think he had either 24 or 25 hits. His sophomore year, he had 24, 23 hits. And same thing as junior and senior, and he finished his career with 96 career hits, and which is in itself a tremendous accomplishment. And for me, it was really special to see a player who got to play for our program from this perspective, achieve that goal and achieve that milestone. And that to me was, obviously the state championship was number one, and obviously, Caleb getting 300 career strikeouts. But to see these kids set these individual milestones too, and to share in some small part or some small role in that achievement as a coach is something I'll never forget, and so that was very, very special for me.
Well, Caleb, as you were preparing for this season, your final year at Oakmont, what were your thoughts about a possible second championship? Did you think the team might be able to do it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
We really had no doubt from the beginning. I mean, you could ask everybody on the team, and everybody thought or knew we were going to win it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did hitting during the winter at a cage in Leominster, and you could just tell that everybody knows what they're doing, and everybody was together as a team, and we knew we could do it again.
And Coach, what about you? Did you think a repeat was possible?
I think I made so many jokes out of the side of my mouth to these guys, to various individuals and various groups of people, that I think they kind of were kind of sick of hearing them. I remember specifically we do a community clinic in March, end of February, early March, before our season gets started for anybody, but really for Ashburn and Westminster athletes. And we always end our clinic just like we end our practice and our games with, we get together and kind of a communal bleed green on 3 chant. And at the end of the last one I did, for the last one we did for the season, the last thing I said was, and hopefully you guys get to come see us as we won our second state title at Polar Park this spring. And I could see, I kind of looked at Caleb and I looked at Sam, and they both were smiling, but it was kind of like, all right, here we go. He's doing it again. So, yeah, it's just we thought we had the guys. We thought we had the makeup, the attitude, and if everything went as well as it could have, we kind of hoped anyways that it would play out the way it did, and obviously we were blessed to have it do so.
So you entered the season with a lot of confidence, high expectations. As the season went on, I'm sure that never changed, but was there a point, and this is a question for both of you, during the season when you just thought, yeah, we got this, we got this? Was there a time when you just really felt sure that you were going to get there?
I think for me, it was after we went 9-0 while I was hurt, because I knew once I came back, we'd have an extra pitcher, and with the other two pitchers, I mean, they did what they needed to do, and we knew they would continue to do that. So I think right after that, we kind of knew that it was we were going to win it. So
how about you, Coach? When did you really think, yeah, I think we're going to do this?
When Levi Hessel, who's kind of our number 3 this year, who would probably be the number 1 starter on most other high school teams, when he took the ball and the confidence that he showed on the mound, I think that was, finding that third arm is key. In a 5-game or 5 or 6, depending on what your seeding is, in the postseason, you have to have 2 arms, and you really need 3. You really need 3 to get to the end, and to see how much he grew as the season went on the mound and at the plate, and just as a player. And we already knew what Caleb could do. We already knew what Ben could do. But I think between Levi stepping up and between the other guys really making big leaps forward, as I said, J.J. Walker was a big one. Will Gage, Aiden Haley. Jake O'Day made a big jump from last year to this year. And Ty Curtis, we even mentioned Ty Curtis, was one of the co-MVPs of Midwatch C this year. The improvement he made in the outfield from last year to this year. He always had good range. He always had great speed. He was always a good hitter. But his ability to throw guys out and to put throws on target this year was ridiculous. He threw out. He had 5 or 6 regular season assists, and he threw, I think, 3 of them were at the plate in big situations. It's specifically one stands out in my mind against Groton. Groton had a very scrappy, very tough team, as they always do, and we were up. Levi was pitching that game, and we had a 3-1 lead with 2 outs, and there was guys on second and third, and it was 1 out, and there's a fly ball to center, and Ty caught it, not really coming towards the plate, but got his feet set behind him and wound up throwing the base runner out at home to get us out of the inning, to keep the lead at 2 runs, and he did stuff like that regularly this season for us. And so, as Caleb said, the fact that we could continue to find ways to win with different guys being the heroes and different guys, being the focal point of various games and still finding ways to win, even when, he wasn't able to be on the field or when we had other guys who were injured. I think that was really a confidence builder for the whole team, just to see, where we have other guys who can play, who can take on those responsibilities and find ways to succeed.
Caleb, how did the 2 seasons, the 2 championship seasons, compare?
I feel like the first one, we knew we had a chance to win it, but after, we didn't completely 100% believe we could, and we didn't know what it took. And then the second season, we knew what it took to win a state championship, and we did it again, and but we knew what we had to do that time. So I think the first season it was almost like you didn't know what to expect the whole season, and the second season we all knew what was coming. So,
Coach, how about you? How do they compare?
Well, the first one's interesting too, because you're not only playing other teams, but you're also fighting history. And that Oakmont had never won a state title before. And so, they'd gotten close in the past. In 1989, they won the districts and lost in the state semifinals. So there was this weight of of history of expectation that you're also battling against. That we've always had a solid baseball program, but we had never been able to take that leap into the echelon of these kind of elite teams like Leominster, and other local teams that have had success, Hudson, that have had success over decades and have found ways to get to that place. So when we finally broke through last year and we kind of overcame that, not only on the field but with that history component, as Caleb said, we did kind of know what winning was going to take, if that makes sense. And we never. The other thing about these guys, they never take anything for granted. One of the things we always joked about is, the fact or how lucky we are in the postseason. When you do win a game, you get to have practice the next day, and as unbelievable as it is to win a state title and to win these games and these playoff games and these venues that we get to play at, for us, practicing was just as important, and getting to be able to spend time and find ways to get better and to hone their crafts and hopefully, at the next levels that they want to play at. So for us, it was also just embracing those moments as well, and practice to practice, and that knowing that, high school, you get 4 years for the best players. You get 4 years to compete and try to find ways to be as successful as possible. And when everybody else is doing the exact same things and has the same goal, so finding ways to enjoy that time together and those moments, whether it's in batting practice, whether it's during a bullpen session, or whether it's during IO, and just embracing the grind. And I think that this group really did that better than any high school team I've ever seen.
We talked about the leadership of the team, key players like Caleb, but you also talked about the depth of the team and some of the younger players who stepped up and improved as the season went on. Tell us about, from your perspective, Coach, your concept of team.
So we have 25, and I say 25 just because that's the number that we have on the playoff roster, but it really is inclusive of, the JV program. It's inclusive of the little leagues, and the communities. And, we're really blessed right now, and we have really for a long time. You and I were joking off camera about, when you coached me in Little League. We have people in our community that really do care and that want to volunteer their time, and that time that the parents and the community puts forward starts, as young as 5 and 6 years old. So I understand how lucky I am to have the support that I have in the community, in both Ashburnham and Westminster, in both Little Leagues, and how many people want us to be successful and are willing to donate time and energy to help us achieve those goals. So these kids have learned that this selflessness and that how connected it all is into the communities. They learn that at a very young age. And so ultimately we just, we get to celebrate that. But this has been, years and years in the making to get to this place. And like I said, I acknowledge and I am very thankful for how lucky I am in the role that I'm in. I mean, we can talk about the assistant coaches that I have. I mean, I really do. These guys they have four head coaches on the team. They have, starting with Coach Stiles, who's also the boys soccer coach, very successful soccer coach. He's a head coach. We have Coach Pacusi, who was a varsity coach for 49 years or 50 years before he came over with us, or some crazy number. And then Justin Nussey, who has been with me at every step of the way. He was with me at Gardner. He's been with me as long as I've been at Oakmont, and he could absolutely be a head coach if he chose to anywhere else. And so we all use the same terminology. We all use the same language, and so the kids know that they're hearing the same message, and it doesn't matter who it comes from. And it's, we just have everybody's on the same page. And like I said, it starts young, and we're blessed to see it at the other end.
Caleb, what did this year's championship mean to you personally, your senior year? How did you feel about it, knowing that you're through, your career is over at Oakmont? How did that feel?
It was something that I dreamed of my whole life. I mean, what better can it get, finishing your season at Polar Park, finishing your high school career at Polar Park? But yeah, it meant the world. I mean, it meant the world to all of us. But it's something I'll never forget, especially with the guys I've grown up with, like Sam, Ben, and Ty. I've grown up playing with them since I was like 5, so it meant the world.
And some of you guys are still playing Legion ball now together, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're playing right now.
North County Legion?
North County Legion.
And
yep.
Coach Pacusi is the coach of that team.
Yes. Yep.
So the beat goes on.
It does. It does. It never stops.
As a matter of fact, didn't you have a game the day after you won the championship, or practice or something, right?
We had a game at 11 a.m. after the state championship.
And how's the Legion season going?
It's good. We're 4-2 right now.
Okay.
We're doing well. Yeah.
Good.
It's definitely fun.
How about you? What did this year, this championship, mean to Tim Caouette?
Last year was, we got to the pinnacle. We reached to the mountain, the tip of the mountain, the summit. And, like I said, we were kind of fighting history. We were kind of fighting a lot of things that come with, getting to that place for the first time. And as any athlete can attest, or any coach can attest, you're always looking towards that next challenge. It's like, we did it once, and then there's that little voice in your head that says, well, you did it once, but can you do it again? And so I'm sure there's people out there that were asking the same thing. It's like, well, yeah, they had one run, they did it one time, and so that's the stuff that I find energy in. It's like, yeah, we did it once, but now let's try to do it a second time, and it is harder the second time. It's different. At the same time, the expectations are different, but you have the benefit of the experience. And you have the road's already been paved, so you can draw on those experiences from last year in the subsequent year. So for me, it was a new challenge. It was a different challenge. Fortunately, we did it with a lot of the same kids, but it was more or less answering that question. Yeah, we did it once, but can you do it again? And we did.
What's next for Caleb Allen?
I'm headed to Deerfield Academy next year for a post-grad year, and then hopefully to a good college after that. So.
Assuming you may be playing baseball there?
I am playing baseball there, yeah.
Predictions for next year?
I'll never bet against my guys. What this group has taught me from the time they were freshmen is, when they come up in our community, I will never bet against kids from Ashburn and Westminster in any regard. We have obviously some enormous holes to fill with we lost seven seniors are graduating, 4 that started for us for 4 years. So they're irreplaceable, but we're going to do our best to find guys who can step up and take on those roles and responsibilities. We have a real good core of guys coming back next year. We have Will Gage, who took over the catching duties, who's going to be a junior. J.J. Walker, who we said took over playing shortstop when he was on the mound, and when he filled in admirably when he was hurt. He's only going to be a junior. We talked about Aiden Haley, who's going to step in at third base, and he's going to be a big contributor next year. Levi Hessel's back. He's going to probably take over the role as our ace, our number 1, and he's going to play first when he doesn't do that. Johnny Lasordo's back, who hit almost 500 for the season, including the playoffs. I think he finished at 476, which is also ridiculous. Wow. We have Jake O'Day back, and then a guy that kind of gets lost in the shuffle but started 7 or 8 games for us is a freshman, Trevor Ewing. He's going to be a sophomore, and he's a very solid outfielder, amongst some other guys who are going to be fighting for those spots. So, it'll be a similar group. It'll be different, obviously, without our four captains who graduated. But we're going to go out and compete every day and try to find ways to get better. And we've proven we can do it once. We've proven we can do it twice, and we'll battle every day and see what happens.
Well, congratulations to both of you, Caleb, for your career. It's been a lot of fun for me because I've been to a lot of games watching you guys, and we look forward, Coach, to 2025 and maybe back to Polar Park again. Yeah. We can only hope. Huh? Let's do it. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.